Good Monday morning, Sonder fam. It is going to be a marvelous Monday. I hope that those of you who are a little under the weather are going to have a good week ahead, that your body's going to take good care of you and get you back to feeling like yourself. We have a new week. We're halfway through this beautiful spring month. April is flying too fast for me because, in Texas, it gets hot. And once it gets really hot, it stays hot. And so I'm not really excited about that. But I am excited that Jennifer Krippner is with me this morning. You have Team Jennifer, and she's popping on to give you guys a wave. She still has snow on the ground. We were talking like I could just take a plane ride, 2.5 hour plane ride up, and be in snow. We're going to be close to 90 today in the Dallas, Texas area. Anyway, so glad to see our Monday morning bunch. Yeah, it's nuts. It's just crazy. But we are just glad that you're here. Make sure that your Zoom chat, pardon me, is set to everyone because that's how we will communicate with one another. This is a mics off, cameras off. I hope if you didn't have to get up and really get moving today, you might be still in your jammies or your comfy clothes and drinking your coffee. I have an extra large cup of coffee. My rosebud thorn will explain why that is today. Yeah, so Meha is going to be taking a little break from maternity leave this week, and she's going to be talking to you about things that are holding you back and introducing some ideas behind our personal coaching app or I don't know the word I'm trying to say, that personal coaching. I guess it's an app. Um, it's going to be so good to see Meha. I actually will be supporting in that. I'll be playing that support role on Thursday evening. So I would love to see you all there. Just, if you haven't checked that personal coaching app out, this is going to give you some more information, and it'll be great to see Meha in real life. There are our community guidelines. Now, if you've been with us, we always throw this screen up because we want to make sure that we remind everybody about the safe spaces that we create in our Silk and Sonder journey with one another. Is there anybody here for the very first time? You thought, let me go check out what a weekly setup looks like. Just drop a me in the chat because we who keep this accountability appointment with one another. We're here every Monday. We would love to just give you that big welcome if this is your first time. But again, just those community guidelines to keep our times together nice and safe, and the reminder of you need to take care of yourself. So take what you need from our times together. I think this is all our regular folks. I don't think we have anybody new this morning. So we need to get on the Sonder Club and encourage some folks to check us out. I am so excited. So am going to be hosting Sonder Family on Sunday, May 18th at 2 o'clock at one of my favorite local haunts. It's called Pie Falutin, and they serve pies that are the size of a meal. And we have a reserved room, and we're going to be doing a little journaling, a little socializing in real life. I've got a goodie bag in the works. So if you are in the Dallas, Fort Worth, kind of North Texas area, please come see us. Jen just dropped the link to our, um, oh, Heidi, yes, pie falutin is our, we love pie falutin. But anyway, there's a link in the chat. She just dropped it in that you can RSVP. I want to make sure that I got all the things ready for you. But yeah, so that's exciting. That it's kind of hard to believe it's a month away, and I'm so excited to get to see real life Sonder family, right? Not virtual. So as you know, we've been digging into authenticity this month, and our opening song, "This Is Your Life" by Switchfoot. I thought, oh, it just popped into my head one day. I said, I've got to play that at one of my socials because it's such a good song about authenticity. It's the practice of letting go of who we think we're supposed to be and embracing who we are. And so we've been digging into that theme this month. We're going to dig a little deeper this morning into that weekly mind map. Then we're going to be doing our rosebud thorn reflection and then our weekly setup. And I know that you guys probably have your cadence to setting up. And I'm going to full disclosure, my rosebud thorn will tell you why. I just didn't get my setup done. So I'm actually setting up with you. I usually set up ahead of time so that I'm ready to go, but I'm going to be setting up my pages this week along with you. And I've got a lot of ideas for you to take a look at if there's an area that you might want to try something different, but also that permission of don't fix it if it isn't broken, right? Just set yourself up. You've made this appointment with yourself. So let's look at that mind map week 3 prompt together. Of course, our mind map can be done anywhere in our journals. I've been tending to use that very last page. Our facilitator Bailey suggested that several months ago, that she just goes to that last page because it's easy to find. This is how I set mine up. Y'all know I've been on my cookie cutter craze, so I actually just use cookie cutters. And but you can use your weekly scratch pad. Jennifer Krippner is doing her mind map from week to week on that weekly scratch pad, considering that prompt. Anywhere that's comfortable for you. And so week 1 was personal. Last week, Jennifer led us through the idea of connections when we felt deeply connected, and that, the feeling of authenticity that came out through that. This week is being vulnerable. And we're really looking at kind of those maybe blocks that we have in our life. The prompt is, what would it mean for you to be vulnerably authentic? What fears arise from this idea? And if you're a Brene Brown fan, you know that she talks a lot about fears and being brave and being courageous to be your authentic self. So we want to consider how we could benefit, how facing these fears will benefit us. How can you embrace vulnerability, nurture more authentic connections with those around you? What does that look like? So I kind of really dug into thinking about how to answer this question. And so I pulled up a couple of Brene Brown quotes to sort of lead us and get us started. Um, Sonia, glad you're here. You're not late. You're here. You're here, and we're glad that you're here. And we're sending you good wishes for your treatments next week. So Brene Brown says, vulnerability is the last thing I want you to see in me, but the first thing I look for in you. And I thought, "Ooh, that's pretty powerful, right?" Because we want folks to show up in their most authentic form, and we wanna just love them as they are. But then when you flip that table, you're kinda like, "Well, I don't know that I need people to see or want people to see this part of who I am." I thought that was a pretty kind of, neat thing to sorta set us on how we're gonna work on this question this week. And then Brene also says vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up when you can't control the outcome. And we know we love to control all the things, and we got to learn how to let that go. And so that might be kind of that way of embracing vulnerability, as letting things go, the things that we can't control. So, just some ideas. Got some questions for you, and you might want to choose one or two of these this week to work this prompt. The first one, when do I feel most like myself? And we've kind of worked on some of these things, but when you think about it through the lens of being vulnerable, what does that look like? So, kind of think, where am I? Who am I with? What am I doing or not doing? Um, One way I hold back parts of myself is, and it, what are you protecting and from whom or what or why? Being real sometimes feels risky because, and is it, fear of judgment or loss or fear of change? And just explore this without shame. Um, but when I have shared my true self, I've noticed What are the small shifts that you see? And then to be more authentically yourself, what do you need? What do you need? And so there's some ways. So you might just want to pick a couple of these to sort of frame out week three's mind map. I'm going to put on some music while you work on this. And if things are coming up for you, please share in the chat. Jennifer and I were talking about some of these questions this month where the mind map could be like a whole social, right? We could really do some deep digging. So let's work on that, and then we'll be back to get going with our setup. kind of early in the Monday to work this hard, isn't it? Thank you guys for considering this question. Let it, again, I always say, sometimes it has to marinate. So maybe you're going to think about this and sort of work on it later or throughout the week. But I appreciate those of you who are comfortable sharing in the chat because the minute that Alice put her thoughts down, and then Meredith says that resonates with me. And I love that connection that we have with one another through these prompts. So thank you all for supporting each other as we work on that. And I neglected to say, if you see anything that you want to kind of capture, be sure to take a picture or grab a screenshot so you can revisit this prompt, revisit these questions, or revisit any of the things I'll be showing you with our setup, right? So feel free to take pictures as we go along this week. So now we're going to turn to page 36 and do that rosebud thorn reflection. We want to celebrate the good. Even if it was a tough week, what can we celebrate from this past week that was in our life? And a lot of times it's hard. You might have had a really hard week. And maybe just the fact that you survived is that rose, and you can be proud of enduring the things that the week brought you. The bud, what's coming your way? What are you looking forward to? We want to always have a growth mindset and be looking ahead to things. And then, of course, thorns, what are we confronting head on? So, um, for me, I mentioned it in the chat. We were talking about missing Sonder socials and missing just that time that you've carved out for yourself and how it throws you off. And so, let's see who's it. Alice said, she missed a couple of weeks. And so I was sharing in the chat, I missed yoga class last week because my granddaughter was sick, and I care for her so that her parents don't have to take off of work when my grandkids are sick. And so I missed both. I take two classes, and they're restorative. They're slow. They're not, one's a chair yoga, one's very restorative. And it's way more for my mind than my body. And I was off kilter because I didn't keep that rhythm and routine that I have for myself. And I felt it. That was my thorn. I felt myself getting edgy and icky, and I didn't like it. So, my bud is I am a member of a philanthropic group that supports educational opportunities for women. And my little local chapter, it's small, but I was elected president for this next year, and I get to go to the state convention. And so that is something that I am looking forward to. It's at the beginning of May, and I get to go to San Antonio. I get to stay in a hotel, and I don't have anybody else with me except one of my chapter friends. And so I'm real excited about that. And then my rose was life is grand. I had my grandkids this weekend, which is why I have the extra large cup of coffee, which is why my planner is not set up. But we had the grandbabies while their parents took a weekend away. I'm kind of tired. My brain's not cycling all the way through on thoughts, but it was such a joyful time, and they're all big enough. And the baby is 2.5, and he's starting just to say, "I love you, Jojo." And I was just like, just like out of the blue. And so there's nothing better for me than that. So that was my rosebud and thorn, and I want to know yours. And I want you to share those things that are hard. If you're comfortable and you feel like being vulnerable with us, just share those and let us remind you that you are not alone. And also, while we're working on this, I'm going to encourage you to turn over to page 39 because we are kind of at that mid-month point, and I'm going to play a little bit long, I'm going to play like 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes of music because I want you to take a look at your currently page and kind of think about through the lens of authenticity, where are you? What are you loving, feeling, enjoying, anticipating, wishing, reading, watching, planning? Kind of just do this little mid-month check-in with yourself while we work on these two prompts, our rosebud thorn and our currently page. Um, and then, share what you want to share with us. Let us know what's going on in your life, and I'll be back to check in with you, and we'll finish getting those 2 weekly pages set up. Alrighty. I want to make sure that we have plenty of time to do our setup as well. So, you can continue kind of doing this currently page, this reflection mid-month, if you want. And while you're doing that, I'm also going to encourage you, make sure that you're checking in with that stop, start, and continue box. And, on at the beginning of the month, when we go back and we we kind of do those reflections on the previous month, and our start, stop, and continue boxes are on page 8. And then on page 9, what were those intentions that you set up for the month, and how are they going? And see if you need to do a recalibration. It's okay. Keep it neutral. This is data about our life. And I just want to remind you to take a peek at those things though, and make sure that you are staying true to what you wanted. And if the month has brought something different, give yourself that permission to change things up. That's okay. So let's go ahead and dig into our setup. Like, I didn't see that we had many new folks here, so you guys are probably ready to dig in. I'll go through our slides for the first page. I'll go through all the examples together and then give you that time to work on it. And then we'll take a look at that second page, and then we'll close our timeout together. So here's a couple of examples from this month, earlier in the month. And just, how they are set up. Both of these examples show how your major goals are directly affecting the things that are going in the to-do spaces. So the to-dos are supporting the goals. And I love how both of these goals that are reflected on these examples are very simple. Just a couple of words each. So, like, personal relationships, create, have tos. And then the one on the right, home, business, health. So, keep it simple, right? And then putting those to-dos in place to support that. So anyway, you can see that, how they want to feel is up there, and then their habits and activities. And neither one of these examples are showing like there's not a goal set per se. It's just simply a tracker, and you can see how they are tracking. And I love this weight tracker. It really spoke to me, the one on the right. Instead of looking at numbers, you're just kind of measuring, is the arrow going down or up, or are things staying neutral? And that I think is a very lovely way to approach looking at that instead of looking at a number. And so that's something that spoke to me that I thought you might enjoy seeing. Um, there again, I always share this big O list of ideas for incorporating into any of the spaces on these 2 pages for looking at, what you want to do. I have mentioned, ad nauseum, that in the spring I always have a garden tracker, and it's somewhere on my setup each week, because there's always so many chores to do. But you might want to grab a screenshot of that if it's something that is speaking to you. And then there are the special days for the week. If you want to kind of make your week a little fun, maybe pull out a couple of these and incorporate them somewhere, either on these 2 pages or maybe on that weekly spread. Today is National Gardening Day, so I'm excited about that because I will be digging in to my garden. So yeah, I love that, Chris, that you're doing that. Can I go back one? Sure. And I'm gonna go, remember, I will go through all of these again while you are working on page 1, so you can grab screenshots if you see something that kind of speaks to you. I'm gonna go ahead and move forward, and then I'll go back to that big O list. So the first thing I want you to do is let's embrace the way we want to feel this week. So and I have this authenticity tip. Think of maybe a negative feeling that you have been experiencing, either today or in the recent past, and perhaps think about that true feeling that you're having. I've been feeling a little grumpy. Um, and how can you flip that? And maybe that's how you can set up how you want to feel this week. Like, do that opposite side of the coin feeling, to be authentic, embrace the icky feeling, but also figure out a way to flip it on its head. There are some words for inspiration, and then that little pop out box over there, that's just tips for setting this up. Maybe there is a quote that is speaking to you. And so a quote will be guiding that feeling. Y'all are dropping in the chat. I want to feel free to enjoy a beautiful life. That just, I feel like it's a sunny day, hoppy, full of hops and happiness. Prepared and vibrant. Vibrant is such a beautiful word. Motivated, replenished. Are you feeling thirsty in more ways than just water, right? How can you replenish your soul? If you have, and again, if you have that word that you're bringing forth, because it is like your word of the year, bring that forward. Don't change it up. Mason says, proud. Catherine says, I want to be proud of myself, accomplished. You know what, Anna, you might maybe you feel lazy and not getting as much done lately, but maybe that's your body saying, "Girl, you got to rest. You need to rest." Remember, rest is an activity. Heidi wants to be engaged with her life. Bloom me. I love that, Carla. Yes, bloom. That's a great word for this time of year. Alrighty, so we're going to take that word and it's going to guide our setup for the rest of the week. So let's take a look at those goals and to-dos. I like to put them together because sometimes they can inform one another. Again, that shout out to the intentions page, or go take a look at that monthly habit tracker. Um, could those two pages inform what your goals are this week? And again, keep it simple, like the examples we saw. You can do kind of no goals. What do you need to stop doing or get out? Look at that stop box that we referred to earlier. Are there some outstanding things? We're halfway through the month. Look at the last 2 weeks. What's working, what's not working? What do you want to bring forward? What do you want to knock off that list? And then we always like a challenge, like a spending challenge or a health challenge if you're not sure where to go, a rest challenge. Just kind of give yourself a topic and think of 3 ways to challenge yourself there, or the categories. That is such a good way, if especially Monday morning if your brain's not firing. You know, give yourself 3 categories and do a simple goal for each one of those categories. Like I've got a fun, frog, and fruitful one that I'll share with you. Delegate, delete, delight. What are those? So those are kind of fun. Oh, Karen, me just want to feel spring. Just embrace the season. We're done with wintering. I love that. And then, of course, you can always just repurpose this space. There have been times when I have used this space for like my morning routine, and I've just listed out all the things that need to happen because I got off of a rhythm and routine. And so I'll put it that front and center. And so I don't do goals. I just use this for that kind of space. But it could just be, a little journal reflection or a mini bingo board. It's really, what is working for you. Here's some great examples. Mind, body, heart, mind, body, soul, left brain, right brain, no brain. Ways to set that up. Again, I'll go through all of these. And then this is one of my previous ones there on the left, and it's that fun. It's frog, fruitful, and fun. And so the frog is eat the frog, eat the toad, do that one thing you don't want to do. And this was actually from about a year ago, and I was working working on a fundraiser, and I just didn't want to mess with all the details. And so that was my frog, and I put it as my first goal of the week to knock it out and just get it done. Fruitful, what was going to benefit my home, my family, and that was getting the budget and the taxes done. And then the fun was an arboretum family night. So that was how I set that up. We can see some other examples there. Use stickers. Look at the one in the middle. Again, a quote that's going to guide their week, not worrying about doing those goals. And I love the R words we see on the example on the right. They want to feel relaxed. And so their goals are revive, relax, and reconnect, which I love, love, love those. Alrighty. And then thinking about time boxing. So those goals that you have, how are you going to make them happen? And this is just kind of that reminder, like, okay, you write your goals down. Let's schedule them. Let's put them in our app, our habit and activity tracker, or let's turn to that weekly spread and give an allotted time. Like, at noon, I'm going to blah, 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 each day for each one of these goals. Make sure that they're happening. So not a time box. You do the identification of that task or that goal, and you set your time limit. You focus on that task at that particular time, and it might, give yourself that completion time. Like, I'm going to work on this for 15 minutes every day. I do this nighttime rhythm, where I reset the kitchen, and I'll like set the clock, my timer for maybe 2 minutes. And it's like, what can I do in 2 minutes? And just get it done, get that coffee pot set up and clear the counters or whatever. Take breaks if this is a long task. Using a technique like the Pomodoro technique will give you those built-in breaks and repeat or adjust. So the Pomodoro technique is great if you've got like a lot of stuff to do. But you can also just time box for just moments, right? Taking those, like, if I can do it in 2 to 3 minutes, get that done. So I want to just remind you of that technique and making sure that you're scheduling and so that your goals happen this week. There's our to-dos, just some examples of setting that up category wise. The one that you see kind of in the bottom middle, there's some questions that this person is asking of them. What are my three most important tasks of each day? Right? They're going to look at this every day and ask, where can you schedule time to fill up, to be refreshed, to be rehydrated, if you will. What's the smallest possible step forward you can take to see momentum and connect with your why? So it's right. We take those first baby steps into getting that done. So that's kind of nice to see that in the to do. You're turning that page open every day and you're reminding yourself of that. May all your to-dos turn into to-dos. You all know I leave this space blank every week, and because my to-do list goes on my weekly spread. But the extras I do, I write them down because I want to give myself credit for doing that. So, there you go. And this person is doing a to-do list, but also leaving space for that to-do list, that celebration. Now we're going to drop to the bottom, our habities, our habits and activities. And, I love Wonder Led Life. That's one of my favorite Instagram accounts that I follow. And they have the sweetest, like from children's storybooks. That's their illustrations, and there's always a beautiful mindfulness quote there. And I love this: me learning to embrace practices that nourish rather than habits that deplete. So make sure your habits are aligning to what you need in your life. Those activities that nourish you and give you that refreshment that you need. And this, I laugh. This is me today. I always set two alarms, one for the person I want to be and one for the person I am. So again, a reminder of being authentic, be true to who you are. And, if you need that rest, it's okay. Take that time to rest. Is there anybody else who sets 2, 3, 4 alarms in the morning? I mean, I've been notorious for doing this, and I used to, when I was working, I'd set it for like, 5:58, not 6 o'clock, 5:58. Or the second alarm was set for 6:12 because like that was the absolute time that I had to get up. Couldn't go 6:13. I'd be running. Anyway, I have this weird relationship with my alarms. Also, failing twice does not make you a failure. I want you to remember that big picture, that journey that we're on. So, you see those two times that something didn't happen, but when you look at it in the perspective of perhaps a month, you did pretty good with the times that it didn't get done. So again, being authentic. It's okay. We're gonna mess up. It's all right. But be authentic with yourself and look at the whole picture because you are doing lots and lots and being successful there. Some great examples. from our Sonder family of how they're using their habit and activity tracker. Notice the one that's there in the middle on the left. They don't track on weekends. They give themselves a couple of days off. And I think, if that means that there's some rest happening, no matter what that rest looks like, right? Maybe it's just not, just taking that break. That's good for your soul. You can circle days that you want particular things to happen, several examples of that. And then, you can set a goal like the one you see on the upper left, but you don't have to set a goal. If you set goals, you could also gamify it, like the one on the upper right, where they've done something 5 times, 4 times, 3 times, 2 times. Or you can just simply track the times that it's happened, like the one you see in the middle on the right. And remember, no one can be 100% every day. And that's okay. This again is just some data. It's not a place to judge. You're saying, oh, Wednesday must have been a tough day for me because I didn't get the things done that I wanted to do. Some examples of some really lovely habits that you might want to consider adding to your rhythm and routine this week. Put your phone on Do Not Disturb, go for a walk outside, write down one thing you're grateful for, allow yourself to rest, declutter a common area, not the house, one area. So just an idea of add things to add to that. And then I always have this big list of things that I've seen from Sonder family that I just kind of compiled, a thing that you could add to your habit and activity area. So I'll stop talking. Let's work on page one. I'll go back through all of these slides, and then we'll look at what some ways to set up page two. All right, you can continue to set your page up and we will oh, JA, I'm so glad that that spoke to you. It speaks to me because I'm a self-imposed perfectionist, very judgy of myself and value. I find value in the things that I accomplish during the week, and I'm a terrible rester, and so I it spoke to me, which is why I shared that slide with you. So I'm glad that thanks for shouting out that spoke to you. It was, hello pot, I'm kettle. So if you see those things, it's because, I'm talking to myself. So continue to finish up that page while we're also going to dig into page two. And so, okay, I hope that this person is with us. We're looking at the next page, and someone last week and I tried to put these slides together before I had my grandkids, so I would have some good things to share with you. Desiree, it is you. Jennifer and I were trying to remember. It was was it Desiree? Because I slept a few times between them. Okay, so Desiree took the etymology of each one of the days of the week and then embracing that in her meal planner, and I thought that was so much fun. So I grabbed that and threw it in on this slide deck. So Monday, moon day, and observe the moon with binoculars. And I want to tell you, Desiree, this inspired me to, after the babies had their jammies on, we went outside to find the moon because it was a big moon this weekend. And so it wasn't on Monday, but we still went and looked at the moon. So anyway, but I thought that was just a fun way of embracing the week. Sunday, get some sunshine, get outside, right? So I wanted to include Desiree's example there so you guys can get that. And then what the page over, the meal plan is what I did well. So celebrating the authentic you. And I love that. And then, you can see the shopping list. I think that little space gets repurposed so much. I keep my shopping list virtual. So we've got a couple of examples there, Desiree is doing, sharing some love with the people that are important in her life there with a little bingo. I love that accountability to make sure, that you're spreading love. But also the one over there on the right is just a quote to kind of guide your week. The Mind Body Health Plan. It looks like Desiree, you used it more as a physical body plan. And then the one over on the right is daily glimmers. So taking those moments to find the things that you notice that fills your soul, right? Your spirit. So a couple of great examples there. So Desiree, thanks again for posting because we love to see your pages. And then here's the meal plan used in some form or fashion as a meal plan, right? A tracker. You feel famous. So we've got, just sort of a breakdown of what folks are eating there on the left. Um, and doing before noon, noon to 6, and after 6. So really tracking those, and then the water droplets, of course. The meal plan in the middle is actually, it looks like a plan. We're all famous, right? Because we're with each other in our little group. And then the one over there, the macro tracker. So if that's something you're leaning into, it's just, 3 meal plans all around nutrition, but they look different. So again, that reminder of taking what you need for that. Here's some other fun examples of repurposing that meal plan if you're not using it as a tracker, a symptom tracker. That's always good. And you know what? I didn't use my meal plan for that, but I started tracking my symptoms just in my weekly spread. And I realized I was having some stomach things. I kind of have a little IBS, but I had started doing Advil kind of on the regular for my fingers. And I think it was that because I stopped the Advil and I feel better. And it was because I was paying attention and using my journal to track those symptoms. Um, anyway, so word of the day, one good thing with some little drawings there, that art. triggers a different part of your brain. So if you can doodle anytime, doodle. That's good for your brain. But look at the one on the right. They actually are using Monday and Tuesday as their AM routine, and then Thursday through Saturday as their PM routine. And then the Sunday space is kind of that little check off that, like Monday, there's two boxes, one for AM and one for PM. So I really appreciated how they broke that down. I never thought about doing it as a routine tracker. And y'all know I share with you, I don't have good rhythm and routine. I will for a while, and then I got to get back to really recording my days, right? And checking off. So I thought that was kind of a neat way to use the space of the meal tracker for a morning and evening routine accountability checklist. If that was one of y'all's, please jump in there. Anyway, oh, Rodica, that's so interesting. Yeah. You get old and you got to figure out, pick your battles, right? So I'll just have hands that hurt for a while because my stomach was, ugh. Okay, so here's some mind body health plan ideas. And again, I always call this my selfish space. This is all about me. I love the idea of what am I dreaming about right now? Just a little journal reflection, a weekly journal reflection. Um, the one that you see on the upper right is a former one of mine, and it was embracing my five senses and just kind of honing in on my five senses that week. I didn't do a sense a day. Some of them are kind of blended, sight and sound were I noticed my hummingbirds and buzzing the feeders, and it was just kind of those glimmers, but through the idea of my five senses. So that's an idea. Couple of fun graphics. This month is about stress management, like national stress management. And so Silk and Sonder posted this beautiful imagery in our Instagram account this week. And so some of those are just a lot of fun. Press your feet into the ground. Talk about just a moment of mindfulness. Like just stop and go outside and maybe kick your shoes off and feel the ground below you for just a moment. So some fun ways to let go of a little stress, how to fill your glass. All righty, daily intentions. We love the alliteration, the idea of alliteration. So there's some great examples of that. You might want to incorporate one of these graphics as your skeleton to put here and how you fill that out. And then here's another former example of mine, just that daily reflection on self-esteem. Monday, something I did well. Tuesday, I felt good about myself when. So just that little moment of embracing your authentic self. And then that shopping list again, we love the grids here. So you'll see a lot of, bingos and that kind of thing. So this is not an exhaustive list, but this is some of the stuff I've seen that y'all did with some examples. A chore list. I always have some kind of bingo here right now. Mine is my garden bingo. And my example from last week's list is this was midweek. And it was just time in the garden. This week I'm calling it Dig It. So, it's just helping me stay on track with all those tasks. And normally I had 30-minute weeding sessions the week before. I had 3 spaces for that. So I'm just trying to stay on top of that. So this week I think I'll also just do 2 because now that I'm doing it, I'm staying on top of it. But the one in the bottom middle there, ideas for mini breaks at work. Just think about, do you have mini breaks in your day, right? Maybe this is where you put those so that you can take a break. Maybe go put your feet on the ground for 2 minutes and just be still and notice. And then finally, what are you loving? And I want you to share this for sure in the chat. What are you loving? Is it a new product? Is it a book? Is it a series? What are you loving? So let me put on some music Well, you play with this. Mine is my family members are thriving. I shared with you several months ago that I have a family member who is dealing with sobriety, a new sobriety journey, and was kind of up and down, but some thriving is happening now. So it's just filling my heart. I'll be back to check in with you after a couple of minutes of this, and we'll close out our time. And here we are at the end of our favorite hour of the week together. I am very honored that you chose to carve out time to be with us. We would love to see your setup in Sonder Club, but I would also like to invite you to go to Sonder Club and just talk about like what makes these times special for you, keeping this appointment, how it's helped you with your journey with your journal. I would love to know about that. Jen is dropping a bunch of links in the chat so that you can go access the YouTube channel to take a look at this social as well as all the other setup socials that happened this week and the other million socials that we've done. I think we're getting close to, we're going to be hitting 1,000 pretty soon that you can access. As somebody had asked earlier about the Wheel of Life, that Wheel of Life social has already happened, so you can access that on the YouTube channel. And I just want to wish you a great week. Thanks for joining us. If you've been a little under the weather, I hope you start feeling better. And we'll see you back here next Monday. Y'all have a fabulous week and be true to yourself.
I love me. I love me. I don't know about you, but baby, I love me. Now everybody say, oh, I love me. I love me.
They gon' say all kinds of things. They'll make jokes about my name. They gon' try to clip my way.